Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Crypto Current. Your host here, Richard Carthon. And today I have a special guest all the way out in Denver, Colorado, working on an extremely cool project that I know I'm excited to learn more about, and you should be as well, just because there's so many elements that are geared on top of this amazing platform. We have Justin, the CEO and founder of RevoFi. How are you doing today?
Brilliant. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. So, it's great to meet you, and hopefully we can bring some value to your audience.
Oh man, I'm confident you're going to do that.
Great.
I am really interested in RevoFi, but before we dive into all of that, I really want to learn more about you. Can you give us some background on yourself?
Oh, sure. I'll give you the abbreviated version. So, my background has been primarily in communications most of my life. So, just to give you kind of like a level set. So my mom was in communications. It was all wireless, right? And so even whenever I was a little kid, I've been around it, and computers and like the old school, right? Old school version. Right. So I'd go up and help run like backups back in the day. And these were like the old like tape and reel backups and stuff like that. So I climbed my first tower at 6. I've been in comms most of my life. I went in the military. So I'm ex-military. Got out, did construction for a while. I've been a bureaucrat. I've done all kinds of things, right? But I'm also an inventor and an entrepreneur. And, I've got some patents and things like that. And, I think for me, whenever I got out and got out in the world in my career, it really kind of steered me back towards comms. It was always comms. And so I did a lot of industrial automation with communication systems. I did a lot for oil and gas companies. I did a lot of work for like FedEx and different kind of like automation systems like that, more of like an industrial scale. Right. But it's a very diverse kind of background and not very kind of generic, I guess, as far as like normal founders. I don't know, but that's kind of me in a nutshell. And I've worked with all kinds of different companies over my time. So Fortune 250 to 500 telcos. Worked on global satellite constellation systems, different terrestrial-based systems as well, all across America and different continents too. So, yep, that's kind of me.
Yeah. So first, got to go back. Thank you for your service. Next up, man, with all this background in comms, it's very fitting for your business with RevoFi. And before we dive into that, like, how did you even get into the crypto landscape, right? So all this comms background, all this makes a ton of sense. Working with these, Fortune companies and just getting really, really good at automation around comms and everything with that. What was that first introduction into the crypto space?
Oh man. Yeah. So it was really, so the first one was probably around 2012 with Bitcoin. But I didn't really take it that serious. I was like, that looks kind of cool. Like, I'm going to go over here and keep doing the stuff that's making me money now. Right?
I got you.
Had I only known. And then, I think just because I was in, development work and I was doing a lot of different things in engineering, I was more focused on that at the time. But I think what really sparked it is whenever I took, because this has been a lifelong project, right? I mean, yeah. But I think what really sparked it was whenever we got invited to go up to the Aspen Institute, and there was a bunch of different. So this was the Nexus convention that was up in Aspen, and there was people from all over the world that that came there and met a different all kinds of different people, and I think that's what really kind of like it's like, all right, this is the way. Right. This is the path. Like, we need to get serious about it. And so I think that was what really solidified me into the blockchain space and crypto and Bitcoin specifically. And then it's like, okay, well, how do we, take all these years of patent work and, development work, and how do we actually do something with that that's going to be valuable to the world? And that was a lot of the conversations that were, that was happening there at the Nexus convention. And there was so many different people and different projects. And it was, this is back 2016, 17. So it was still, there was a lot of hype around it. And this was before like the 2018 crash and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The winter, so it was a lot of fun, but that was like the big kickoff, I think, for me, man.
Yeah. And, just as a quick aside, like I know we've been in the Clover world the last 2 years, but like I've always been a big advocate and loved conferences just because one, you're getting to be introduced to a lot of new ideas, a lot of people with a lot of energy and a lot of different like segments, but it also opens your mind to new business opportunities that are out there that you didn't even realize were available. And, I look forward to hopefully when we get back to being able to go back to a lot more conferences and whatnot, but I digress. Now we're looking at, it's 2016. You're starting to look more at the crypto space. You're more aware after this Nexus conference, and you have all these patents and comms. And then how does all that merge together to create RevoFi?
Yeah, great question. So, in the great spirit of entrepreneurialism, right? It's always about product market fit, pivoting. So, part of the patent that I've been working on for a long time, and it's a national review right now. It's already passed an international review, but part of that patent was RevoFi, and what really makes it different compared to everything else in the patent is that it's really the only physical aspect, right? Everything else is really built in software and protocols and algorithms and AI. But RevoFi has always meant to be the physical layer, right? That's the actual wireless portion of it. And that's where like your SIM cards, right? Or your connectivity and everything else, all the physical stuff was in RevoFi. And so then, we stood up an IP company, and then we had some consulting work there. But this was a company that we actually stood up specifically to do what it was designed to do in the patent. And what really separates it, because we tried a lot of different approaches to the market, right? And whenever you talk software to people, especially blockchain, I think it's very esoteric, especially for like small to medium businesses and just most business people in general. It's very esoteric, and it's like, well, that sounds expensive and clunky, and I don't know how I'm going to use it, right?
Right. So really quickly, I want to dive in just real fast. So RevoFi, just at its base, if you give us like a definition of what it is. So my understanding is that, on the website, it says join the wireless revolution. It's a device that has multiple ways to earn. So can you break that down?
Sure. Yeah. So real simply, the device is, for connectivity, i.e. Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi 6 mesh. So connectivity, storage, and compute. Those are the three ways that you're going to be able to fundamentally earn with the device. What does that mean, right? So it's very simple from a basic standpoint of like, if you're passing data, i.e. if you're gaming, if you're streaming media, if you're just doing anything on the internet, right? As long as you're connected through that device, you're going to earn, right? And then you can also lease out those resources back to the network. And that's where we'll have like the cloud-based services that are decentralized, where businesses or app developers or whoever can deploy those apps throughout the network. And then they actually pay the network, i.e. you, the device owner, for any utilization of those resources.
Interesting. So this is going more of the route of Wi-Fi. So would this be able to come into people's homes and replace Wi-Fi? Would it work in conjunction with Wi-Fi? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So this is like the latest and greatest Wi-Fi standard that's out there, right? So if you really want to upgrade your Wi-Fi, I mean, there's already Wi-Fi 6 mesh, network appliances out there, but they're not going to earn you money, and they're not going to give you a lot of these other benefits, right? They're kind of like singular purpose. So you could take this and upgrade your Wi-Fi 6 mesh in your home, or just upgrade your Wi-Fi in general, right? You're going to get a lot better throughput than you would with standard, like Wi-Fi routers or standard network appliances. Plus, it makes you money, right? And it's a lot of fun, right? And you get to do a lot of other things with it. And it's NVIDIA compute under the hood, right? So there's all kinds of things that you can do with it, as well as the cellular and satellite backhaul and the SDR radio.
So just to break that down, I'd be able to add this in conjunction with my router. It's going to speed everything up. I'm going to be able to do a lot of things faster, earn money. And tell me a little bit about the privacy. So like, how is it able to also make sure that everything stays secure?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's all a private network. right? So we're fundamentally changing how we look at private networks. It's not like, oh, I have to go buy a VPN and I have to do all these different security settings and everything else. So I think one of the main goals that we're really trying to accomplish is simplifying security, simplifying authentication, logons, all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, those are kind of some of like the longer term goals, but essentially it's really all a private network day zero. And so you don't need a VPN because it's already a private network. And then whenever it comes to privacy and security, we're using all the latest, industry standards as far as, making sure that we're using the proper encryption and secure boot and all those different types of things. So it's not like the data you put on the devices are wide open. It's also not like if you put that device and the resources back on the network and allow people to use it, it's not like it's, you still have some security control measures there and there's still like a DMZ. And I think, one thing I would say, right, is that the technology for networks has advanced substantially over like, the last 20 years. And I think whenever we look at what we have in our homes compared to the technology that's available, the gap is just way too wide, right? I mean, and I think that's why this device is a paradigm shift, because you're getting a lot more out of your network appliance rather than just, simply connecting to it and calling it a day.
Yeah. So let's break that down a bit more. So I'm sure for a lot of people listening to this. So again, for everyone listening, this is a physical device. Now, some people who are kind of aware in this space know about like crypto mining. So you have your miners, whether it's be for Bitcoin, where it's just ASIC miners. Some people even know about like the Helium network and Helium miners, et cetera. Can you explain like kind of the differences between like Helium versus what you have going on with RevoFi?
Totally. I'll try to do my best here. So to be very simple and macro level, so Helium is really focused on LoRa and LoRaWAN, and LoRa fundamentally is an IoT messaging system, right? It's a very lightweight, it's a chirp type protocol, right? And so you can only send like really light like messages over it, right? And that's really what it was designed for. And it was designed for a large area of coverage, right? And so that's why the frequency bands that it uses has a really good kind of propagation. So you get a lot of coverage, right? Lightweight messaging over a long distance makes a lot of sense, right? And you can do that fairly easily. But what you can't do is you can't take LoRa and then try to stream Netflix through that or play gaming through that or anything else, right? So it's really just a lightweight messaging system. Whereas with us, it's all broadband, right? So it's high throughput gaming, it's streaming media, it's you get like 4 different channels just on our one device alone. So you can have up to like 20 different people playing through that single device and streaming media and doing all kinds of stuff with it, right? So it's got a lot more throughput, but it's more limited just simply because we're talking Wi-Fi 6, right? Which isn't this massive coverage area. Now, when one of our devices, you get the SDR, and that's just a software-defined radio. Now, that you get, you can get all kinds of different variables for coverage there. But that's the primary difference between at least Helium and us, right? Is that they're focused on LoRa and LoRaWAN, IoT messaging, lightweight stuff, whereas we're broadband, high throughput, a lot of kind of more everyday use. And then the second thing I think that's the biggest differentiator is that we're mobile versus they're static, right? So whenever you place a Helium hotspot somewhere, it uses GPS location, uses proof of coverage, all that stuff is very static, right? So their consensus algorithm doesn't really allow for mobility, not without doing a lot of really fancy stuff to make that happen. Whereas with us, we're mobile day zero, right? So you can take our devices anywhere you have connectivity, and so that's kind of probably the 2 biggest differences between us.
That is an interesting concept. So with it being able to be mobile, and I guess another question to unpack is a lot of this just going through data flow? Is it actually mining? Like, can you kind of tell us about like what is the consensus model, like the reward system of like how it's working on your device?
Sure. Yeah. So I think, just going back to the 3 kind of core concepts of what we're trying to do, and that's we really want to reward utilization. I mean, that's fundamentally what we're trying to incentivize here, right? And what we're really talking about is moving traffic from your old Wi-Fi system, your old networks, put it on this device, right? It's better anyway. We want to incentivize you for doing that. And then we also want to incentivize for sharing resources back to the network. And it's really about that mindset of becoming a business owner, right? This is more of like a franchise, if you want to think about it like that, or however you want to, kind of use the terminology there. But the essence of it is that, hey, you're a business owner. You can earn through storage and compute by kind of like leasing that back out as like cloud services, if you will. So rather than, developers paying, say, like Amazon or a Google Cloud service, now they can launch those applications on the far edge, which they get better reactivity, lowers their costs. There's a slew of things in there, but how it really works under the hood fundamentally, right, is we just say, how much resources do you have? How much of that are you putting back to the network? And how much of that is actually getting used? And then that actually calculates what your rewards are, i.e. how much Revos that you're going to mint in the epoch, right, for that device. So you get a really like nice broad spectrum of variables for earning potential, right? So it's not just a singular kind of myopic way to earn, where it's like, if you get a Bitcoin miner or some of the other miners out there, they're kind of singular purpose, or it's like you can only do like script mining with it or whatever. So I think the fundamental difference here is, we're really trying to provide multiple ways to business owners, i.e. device owners, to earn, right? And we don't want to just stop there. We want to keep improving the devices over time. We want to add more capabilities to it over time. So I think we're fundamentally starting with the commodities of connectivity, storage, and compute, because those are commodities, and we're just tokenizing those commodities with Revos.
Yeah, thank you for breaking that down. It's super interesting, man. So these devices, they're called RSpots, and I see you have 3 different types. So you have the RSpot Link Pro, the RSpot Link, and then the RSpot Micro. Can you kind of break down like some of the differences of each of these?
Yeah. So the Link is our base model, right? And that's like your entry level kind of model, if you will, and that gets you your Wi-Fi 6 mesh. And by the way, these have Wi-Fi 5 in them as well. We've got a long range Wi-Fi 5 chipset in them, so you can actually use that for connecting back to your internet rather than just a hard line. So that's another feature that's available, and all models have that, right? So you get Wi-Fi 6 mesh with Wi-Fi 5 and a 5-port Ethernet switch, right, in each one of these devices. And so that's the base model. The Link Pro has everything that the Link's got, but then you get satellite and cellular backhaul capabilities. So there's two ways that you can do that, right? So you actually get a mini PCIe slot, and you also get an M.2 key B slot. What does that mean in simple terminology, right? That's kind of like the 2 IO slots that you can take any module pretty much anywhere in the world for cellular or satellite, and you can drop a module in there and then go get a SIM card and a data plan, and now you've got connectivity. So the modules, if you look across the market, the modules themselves, right, for both cellular and satellite kind of fall into those 2 form factors, i.e. mini PCIe or, key B. And so that the key B is more for like true cellular 5G, like all the new 5G modules that are coming out. That's what the key B is for, 4G and kind of some of the other previous versions of, just the cellular technology standards. And then most satellite modules are mini PCIe, right? And so whenever you drop those in there, that gives you the ability for cellular satellite backhaul, and then you can kind of move that device anywhere in the world. The micro doesn't have cellular satellite capability. It's got the standard features just like the other 2, but it's got a special twist, and it has a software-defined radio in it. So the software-defined radio it's actually a HAC RF1 radio. So it's got a massive, spectrum capability that you can that you can utilize there. And what that really means, software-defined radio, is really just it's a standard open source hardware-based radio that has been around for quite some time. There's a ton of different things you can do with it, and all it really means is that I can take software, push it down to my device, right, my RSpot micro, and then I can run that software on that radio however I want to do that. And so essentially I can just change out the programs, right? I can run a weather app, or I can run, a backhaul app, or I can run like whatever I want, right? And I can even run IoT, platforms and messaging systems and stuff like that off the SDR2. So there's a ton of different use cases for software-defined radio. And again, this is all back to earning potential, right? But that's kind of the main differences between the three. So it's a base model, and you kind of get a breakup between of like, okay, do you want more of like an industrial SDR, or do you want more of like, I want to put this in my RV and cruise around the world?
Got it. Man, thank you for breaking all those down. I'm sure a lot of people who are interested in this are going to go back and listen to that breakdown. So thank you. and especially for talking through a lot of those acronyms, because a lot of this is definitely newer knowledge to me as well. So I really appreciate those breakdowns. So what you have is really interesting, really cool. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in it. But another element of this is that you actually have your own NFT play as well. Can you kind of break that down?
Yeah. So one of the things I really wanted to do, and this is more of like the creative side of me, I guess, trying to get out, but I wanted to create an NFT marketplace, not just for us. I think we're going to start with letting me kind of get my creativity out. Plus, I wanted to do something kind of specifically special for our devices, right, that you don't really normally see. And that was really taking an NFT and our physical device and making those two things kind of go hand in hand, right? So every time you buy a Founders Edition device, now we won't do these for very long, but for every Founders Edition device, you'll get an NFT that goes with that device. And I think the idea, right, is that in the app that we're going to be releasing here pretty soon, you'll be able to go to the app, see your NFT, and then also actually go over to your device and use AR, augmented reality, and actually see your device in three-dimensional, spectrum, if you will, and actually see it move and animate and all that kind of stuff. But the whole point, I think, to the NFT marketplace is that we want to open it up eventually to other creators, and we want to have, other type of art. There's all kinds of things that I think are, potentially available there. We've even looked at, tying in NFTs to potentially like our DAO, that we want to potentially do for just the network. But, I think in the next 60 to 90 days, we've got to improve our development platform a little bit more for our NFT marketplace. We've got some work to do there, but I think once it's ready, we want to do a full, candy machine and gumdrop and really, probably produce around 3,000, maybe a little over 3,000 NFTs. And then I think that'll be like where we start, and we'll launch the platform. And then we'll really start looking at, who can we open this up to, and how do we open this up to other creators, and really create more of a community where you can come in and create your own NFT, right? If you want to, mint that and sell that as part of Cypher Army, then I think, that's what we really want to do with it. At least fundamentally, that's the start, right? And that's how you get access to the network, and you get access to devices and all kinds of stuff. And they're all game-ready assets, right? At least the ones that we're building. So I built all of them in Unreal Engine. So, I think some of the gamify stuff that's coming, we want to take those assets, all of our NFTs, right? We want to go to, some of these marketplaces that are coming out for NFT assets for games, and say, look, you have an NFT, we're going to get this into this marketplace. And so now you can play your NFT in your games, right? So that's the idea.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, man, you're adding a lot of different layers to this, and it's going to continue to develop out. I thought it was interesting that you have it built out on both the Solana and ETH ecosystem. For Revos itself, what ecosystem is it under?
Yeah, so Revos is our own. So we're kind of building our own, if you will, under the hood. So it's our own layer one, and
Okay.
we're taking from so we're taking from a few different sources there to get it all built out. But we looked at just to give you a background. So we looked at Factum, we did even look at Helium to some extent, right? We looked at obviously Ethereum. We looked, there's a ton of different blockchains that we looked at. NKN was another one, and then of course the patent and the technology that that we're bringing to the table with my patent as well. And so that's where we're really starting out. Is we've kind of taken some of these different technologies to build something very unique with a very specific roadmap. Where I think right now we're starting with stuff that's out there. It's tried and true. It's tested, so we don't really have to do a whole lot to it, right? And then I think we can improve from there, and then really start road mapping in the technology, for the patent that we're creating. And so I think that's a little bit longer term to get some of that tech built out, a little bit more cost, heavier lift for non-recurring engineering. But I think fundamentally where we're headed right now, we're using a lot of well-known technologies under the hood. So it'll only be later on, probably within like the next 10 months or so, 10 to 12 months, when we'll actually see some of those new protocols that come from my patent being implemented and integrated. And that's really part of all of this. Fundamentally at its core is what I'm really trying to do and what we're really trying to accomplish. And that's really to create a better internet, not just a free and democratized internet where we all own it, right? Which is the real goal. But we also want it to be a better internet. And so fundamentally, we want to change from how it works at a protocol layer, right? Everything's running on TCP IP today. And the goal is we'll actually use future internet architecture, and that's called named data networking. And eventually all the traffic that's on our network and all the traffic that's out there that's going back and forth, and all the data and all the storage and all the compute that's being used will no longer be running on TCP IP, but it will be running on future internet architecture, and that's named data networking.
Wow. So this has been, very eye-opening for me. I know I'm probably going to go back and even listen to this a few times just because there's a lot to unpack with this. But ultimately, this sounds like you're at the beginning of the next revolution of Wi-Fi, and as we know it, and it's too prone, right? So you get this device. Typically, you have to go and pay, a local provider to be able to run your Wi-Fi, have your cellular, all this stuff. And of course, you're spending money constantly. But it sounds like in this scenario, you're now able to get this device one time, pay for it, and now you're earning money to do all of those same things. Am I capturing that right? Because if I am, like, why wouldn't someone want to do this? I guess that's my question.
Well, a lot of people, I think we're all trained, to be honest, right from day zero. It's like, oh, well, this is just a network appliance. You just put it in your basement. You put it in your closet. Don't think about it. Don't touch it. Whatever. And I really want to change that, right? Like, I think that it's kind of been taken away from us to some extent. And the internet was really meant for, individual people. It was always meant to be decentralized. It was always meant to be peer-to-peer. So I think if you look at what you're able to do with these devices, and the fact that the way that I've really engineered and designed these to be a long life cycle device, right? So I want these devices to be around for, at least a decade. And most of the projects and things that I've done over the years, like, you can still go out and see towers and things that I've built, 20 years ago, and they're still up and operational today. And I think that still holds true here, right? Like, why would you want to go and buy a device every year, every 2 years, whenever you can take this same device and it's going to get better? We're going to improve it from a software standpoint. It's modular from a hardware standpoint. So we can upgrade modules. You can make it better over time with simple upgrades. And I think that's really the goal, right? So it's going to get better. You can upgrade it, and we're going to add more earning potential, over time as well. And, the more we can tie in and have more, I guess, tie into other blockchains and other networks, right? Like, it's really going to open up a lot more, I think, earning potential as well that we haven't even seen or thought of yet. And once this is out there in the hands of so many people, there's all kinds of things that we haven't even thought of yet that people are going to be able to do with it.
For sure. I mean, it sounds like an exciting thing to definitely be learning about and to be able to be a part of. And to that extent, I believe you have a token sale going on right now. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Yes, we have. So Revos is live. We're selling that right now. You can go to revos.holdings. That's the website. So just revos.holdings. And right now, Revos is 5 cents. You can pick up, as many as you want. We're selling 40 million Revos, and we've been mining Revos on our test net for quite a few months now. We've already launched mainnet, at least internally, so it's a test mainnet. So, we're getting really close to that, but and then the app is about to be released here in like the next week or so. So you'll have the Revos wallet available. So you can go out to Revos Holdings. You can buy as many Revos as you want right now. And, we're not planning on changing the price or anything like that. So nothing too crazy there. So you can go out, buy it. And then once you get the app and you download that, you can create your wallet and put that in, and then we'll do the distribution after the token sale. But it's been going fairly well. We had our first little launch was a little bit of a snafu. There was a lot of people that they were buying it up, but they weren't actually paying. So, but now it's pretty steady, and we've got a lot of people that from around the world that are buying up Revos. And so get out there and get them now, man. They're gone. We're not doing it again. This is it.
For sure. Well, thank you for putting that out there. And, Justin, again, you've definitely enlightened me a lot as it relates to comms and how you are taking all of your wealth of knowledge and patents and bringing it to the world of crypto blockchain and in the future. I always like to wrap up the show with 2 fun questions. And the first one I always like to ask is, with all the information you have right now, if you could go impart 1 to 2 pieces of wisdom to yourself when you first got started on RevoFi, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, man. I would say get supply chain in order a heck of a lot faster. Physical products are hard. Prototypes are easy. Manufacturing is difficult.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. I know back when Helium was having its enormous surge, the demand was so high, but the supply was just incredibly low. So I can imagine, like, as this begins to take off, how that same challenge could be faced here. So,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've spent months on our supply chain, going back, working with suppliers, just trying to get it solidified. And, so we're bringing in a lot more people to help us really make sure that part of our business, right. And really it's for the whole, global community of people that want to deploy this. And so it's really them we're working for. So we're going back and saying, look, we need X amount, over X amount of time. And so it's quite interesting, especially this last several months with historic challenges in supply chain, to say the least. So, but we're doing pretty good in that spot. I think we're in a good position. We've got great partners. So we're pretty blessed there. Knock on wood.
Excellent, man. And what, as we wrap up, man, what is a final thought that you want to leave with all the listeners here today?
My final thought to everybody is, I think that if there was one thing I would want you to do, it's really to think about this paradigm shift that we're in right now, and how much dedication you really want to put into an old system or build on old systems, versus do you want to put your energy and effort into building new systems, and where we're headed, right? And the reason I say that is because at some point I made this decision of, I'm no longer going to build legacy stuff, right? I'm not going to improve legacy stuff. Just not going to do it. And I think that was really the divide for me. And so if you're really wanting to get into this space, really start thinking about dedicating yourself to that cause, right? Stop building legacy stuff. Stop building legacy infrastructure and tools and tooling. Let's start building the future, because it's right here, it's right now. And I think that's where, I think that's where prosperity and self-custody and self-financial freedom and independence comes from.
Justin, I think that is a great final thought. people might want to run that back. It's important that we keep innovating. It's important that we keep empowering the next generation to be able to have a lot of what used to be into the corporate structures and come play in my world, and allowing people to decentralize and allow people to have choices. And I think this is a really cool product that allows for that. And again, I appreciate you spending some time to educate us all on this. So what are ways that people can connect with you, Justin, and learn more about RevoFi?
Oh man, there's all kinds of ways to get a hold of me. Just going out to RevoFi.com is probably the best place to start. And then, like I said, Revos Holdings is a good place. We're pretty active on Twitter. We're trying to get better on some of our other social media platforms, but Discord, I would definitely, if you guys really want to dive in and get some information and see what the community is really up to, we're growing really fast. We went from, I think, 1,000 users the beginning of December to I think we're over 5,000 users now, or 7,000. I can't remember now. In less than like the last 30 or so days. So Discord is where it's definitely happening. If you guys want to get out there and get involved.
Perfect. Well, Justin, thank you again for sharing all the information, and for everyone listening, stay cryptocurrent.